I hate driving, but on top of that, I hate what I had to do in order to drive. You see, where I live, it's pretty much a must that you drive. I mean, I'm sure other people can get by not driving cause they can call Uber or their niggas can give them rides or something, but I couldn't afford neither luxury, so I had no choice but to wait until I turned 15 and a half, and I finally had the opportunity to take my permit test. It was shitty, but in order to take my final exam, not only would I have to drive 1 billion miles with my parents, but I would also have to go to driver's ed and then drive 10 hours with a real instructor. Now this in itself is almost unbearable, but to make me really want to shoot myself, they put each day of driver's ed out of order. Okay, so the days of driver's ed were lettered A through F. You could take any class in any particular order because they each taught something different, except for F though, you had to take that last. But anyway, each class happened completely at random. Instead of being helpful and having like A on Monday and B on Tuesday, they choose to be entirely useless and schedule their classes like B, then C, then B, then B, then A, then F, then D, and just some bullshit like that. And because I had a job, I could only do the class on certain days of the week. If they had just done it in order, it would have only taken me a couple weeks to complete it and not the 4 fucking months it ended up taking. And the classes themselves are fucking dumb. Well, a lot of it is helpful information, most of it is just shitty videos. I'm low-key glad you have to be a certain age to drive, cause if I had been younger when I seen some of those videos, I would have been scarred for life. Well, half of the videos were just boring pieces of trash, the others were like horror tales of drug use and car accidents, like people dying horribly and getting disfigured. Like, I get that it's a tragedy and we need to learn from the mistakes of others, but you really have to give me nightmares in the process. And the worst part is the classes were like from 6 to 10 at night, so I had to deal with this shit then immediately go to sleep. But anyway, we had to study for the final exam on class F, and I passed, and then I got to go ahead to do my 10 hours with a professional. And now this is a whole gallon of diarrhea by itself. I'm kidding, it wasn't that bad. Most of the time. The first guy I drove with was cool, he did his job pretty well, but then all of a sudden they switched him up with some woman that refused to let me once to wake up in the morning. She would constantly hound my driving and suggest that I practice with my parents more or some dumb shit like that, until I finally decided that I need the old nigga back, so I made a request and she was switched with him. Surprisingly, she was the one who suggested I have him as my instructor again, so honestly she wasn't that bad. But anyway, after I completed all that nonsense, I got it signed by the bank for some fucking reason, and I decided it was time that I took my driving test. To even schedule the test is a nightmare in itself, cause it's always booked for like 3 months before you can find an available spot. So I practiced as much as I could, and when the test came, I took a fat SL. I passed the maneuverability, which I guess may be parallel parking wherever you live, on the first try, but I fucked up heavy on the actual driving part, but you know, it was chill. It's not like I had to pass right away or anything, so no big deal. Or so I thought. Somehow I managed to schedule the test next month, and again I practiced like hell, and then the day finally came, and I took another fat ass L. But what made me really sick about this L is because I was literally 1 point away from passing. When I was about to drive back to the parking lot, I accidentally skimmed the mirrors of another car, which caused me to automatically fail. Of course I was devastated, as this would mean I was trapped in the crib with no moves to possibly make, and to make matters worse, I had just gotten a job, so I was hoping on getting a license because I didn't want to get an ugly ass ride to and from my place of employment. Eventually I discovered that if you check the driving test website every day, you can actually find openings and closings within a couple of weeks, and luckily I found a test just the next week, and this was like the most stressful one, cause like I learned that if I failed the test the 4th time, then I would have to wait for like half a year and retake my permit test, which might have caused me to suffer cardiac arrest. So I went to take the test and the instructor was cool as fuck. Unlike the other two, he actually tried to have a conversation with me, so when I went back to the parking space, I made a little mistake or something, but the guy was like, you know, since you've done such a good job so far, I'm not gonna count it against you. So he gave me my scoring paper and I got like a perfect score, so of course I was feeling wavy, but unfortunately, as you see in parts 2, driving itself fucking sucks.